Hello, everybody, and welcome to Lore Lords. We are talking about something today. Wait. I'm going to try to say the word, and it's called Megalamorpha. I don't know what that is, but Atlas does, and he's going to tell me about it.
That's right. So I'm actually going to start off with a story, if you will.
I've heard of him.
So what we're going to be talking about today is a very fun topic that I like. And so to start it off, like I said, we're going to be doing a little story, a little bit of history. Throughout this whole episode, there's going to be a bunch of pictures. I actually have 29 photos that are going to be on the screen. So if you're watching this live, you'll get to see that as they pop up. If you're watching it on YouTube later, maybe we'll have it on there. We probably will. I think we figured out that we're going to do that. So here's the beginning of this tale. It starts sometime in the first quarter of the year 1905. There was an archaeological expedition to a Viking burial ground called Sondrum, Sweden. Sondrum, probably. It's got the two O's, the two dots over the O. The expedition was led by an archaeologist named Tyr J. Arn on a ship called the Storaker, with the goal of recovering Viking artifacts, as you might expect, from a Viking burial ground. Instead, they found something else, which is where I bring up the first photo.
Oh, we were talking about looting dead bodies earlier.
So they would, yeah, we were actually talking about that. I mean, it's profitable, I guess.
Unfortunately,
especially if you're going to an ancient burial ground. Anyway, they would photograph what they discovered before digging it out and picturing it again next to Tyr J. Arn himself. In his diary, he wrote on March 22nd of 1905, "Today we dug up something strange. It wasn't far from the other graves in the area, but it was buried deeper. The extraction was difficult since it had become encased in a hard piece of sandstone we had to break through. This artifact, it doesn't look like anything we've seen from the Vikings. It seems too detailed for one of their carvings, and the dark stone it's made of is certainly not from the region. A piece of loot from one of their raids, perhaps? We'll have to bring it back to Copenhagen and analyze it further." So,
can I ask a quick question?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's obviously fake.
So, as you can see from the much clearer second photo, the artifact looks like an insectoid thing, almost like a pupa of some kind. And it has a shape that looks like a pill almost, like a pill buggy kind of shape. With rigid designs, with folded legs or wings, and even a discernible head on top of it. The archaeologist Tyr J. Arn goes on to say, "The crew is quite disturbed by the artifact, and I've heard far-fetched speculations from its origins. As much as I hate to admit it, it makes me feel uneasy. There's one thing I'm more hesitant to write down. When I touched its surface, I felt a very slight vibration, nearly imperceptible. None of the others seemed to notice. Thinking back on it, this was likely the result of a tired mind and an imagination stirred by old wives' tales. Tomorrow we'll load it on the ship with the rest of the findings and come back to the museum." Unfortunately, the Storaker would never make it back to Copenhagen, and the crew and most of its cargo would be lost in a storm off the coast of Denmark. Now, as we obviously mentioned, this is not real.
We did mention this?
You mentioned earlier this is not real. Obviously, if you can tell by the photos, yes, they look good, but they are not real. And they were never meant to be real. Today's episode is focused on a world-building act by Spanish artist Eduardo Valdez Hevia, who goes by Valdez. He is a master of Photoshop and photo manipulator, through which he tells wild stories in an amazing way, similar to other stories we have covered, such as Slenderman, or very closely related to the Mystery Flesh Pit. So this is kind of a story around that same vein of this is just a world building project, and I'm a huge fan of world building, which is why we covered Mystery Flesh Pit as well. And this series, he pretty much mastered the way of like telling a story through a series of photos and like journal entries and stuff like that, as opposed to like writing out a thing, you know. And I fell in love with this when I discovered it a few months ago. And this episode is going to focus on Megalamorpha, which is the name of the project that he's done. So he has a bunch of different projects. This is the most in-depth one, probably the first one he did. So it's got the most details, the most entries.
Neat.
I could go. We could do a whole other episode, which would just be all his other ones, because he has a bunch of crazy ones. But they're usually like one article kind of things, where this is like 20 articles of like information. And even since I like first discovered it, more had been put on. So he's constantly updating it. I recommend Googling it yourself and going to his website. I think it's called Valdez Art, and looking at it yourself. I'm not going to be showing all the pictures, just
a good chunk.
Just some of them. So there's more pictures in all these. Like there's a picture of the Storiker being found burned like on fire in the ocean, kind of thing.
So this just looks like a cocoon.
Yeah. So they're saying it's like a pupa cocoon thing. He said it felt vibrations coming through it. Super weird. This tells the story of a world where, starting in 1905, humans begin to uncover massive insectoid creatures that start to appear all over the world.
Great.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. What's the next photo? Great. All right, put that up there. So the next photo is the next kind of story going chronologically, which happens in 1910 in Northport, Maine, in the United States. So
hey, I know that place.
Is that a real city, Northport, Maine?
Well, I don't know about Northport, but I know Maine.
But you know Maine? Okay, yeah. I know you know
I'm gonna
Maine.
look up Northport now, I'm curious.
So, in Northport, Maine in 1910, an unidentified carcass of a large insectoid creature washed up on shore, and the local newspaper on Thursday, May 12th, 1910, had a report on it.
There is a town in Maine called Northport.
Yeah, it seems almost Lovecraftian, like the town, so I wasn't sure if it was real or not.
Yeah. Well, that's New England for you.
So the newspaper reported, strange shell washes ashore. Residents from Northport reported a strange animal washing up ashore this morning. Quote, "'Tis a honkin' lobster. We thought it was a whale at first." End quote.
A honkin' lobster.
Said,
that's so
it's
so
written like that.
Mean.
TISAHONKIN. Lobster.
It's a fucking honkin' lobster.
It's a fucking Hompton lobster. We thought it was a whale at first, said Eugene Morrill, local fisherman. We were gonna boil it, but tain't no meat inside.
Whoa. What's inside then?
The carcass was left on the docks so a biologist from Maine University can identify it. It said it was a shell, so it's just, I guess it's just empty inside.
Got it. Molted. Got it.
Yeah, so the body looks like kind of like a shed exoskeleton. It's got, you can kind of see hairs on the body. It looks kind of like a fly. It's got large wings on the side.
It literally just looks like they took like a picture of a dead fly and made it big and put it on a beach.
Yeah. It's basically what it is.
Photoshop is funny.
I don't think it's real. I think it's a made image. I don't think it's a real fly body. It's kind of, because a lot of these things are pretty ambiguous. That's what they look like.
Right.
The other possibility is that, if washed up on shore and it's a shell, likely so it's dead, or the possibility is that it died a long time ago and the inside had been eaten by creatures in the ocean. Oh, yeah. Couldn't eat through the exoskeleton. So, or it's something hatched out of it. Maybe it molted, one of the things, something like that. That's what bugs do.
The crack on the back leads me to believe a molt, because that's usually how it happens, is they break out of the spine.
Yep, exactly. It's going down the middle, too. So it's likely what happened. So, here's a final piece of this article that has a newspaper clipping from Saturday, May 14th, 1910. So the same week, but the Saturday, where it's titled, "Tragedy in Northport. Friday morning, the body of Jimmy Hall, 12-year-old boy from Northport, was found lying dead on the docks. The child appears to have slipped and fallen on his head while sneaking out at night to see an unidentified carcass that had washed up on shore. The town's fishermen who discovered the animal claimed it carried a curse and took it upon themselves to destroy the remains of the lobster-like shell by burning it, much to the chagrin of two Maine University biologists who had just arrived to inspect it."
That's so northern Maine and southern Maine. Like northern Maine, like burn the demon, and southern Maine being like, we should study this. Sorry, just from being down there. I know the culture of Maine very well, and it's pretty accurate.
Well, then this guy from Spain nailed it. Needless to say, nothing was discovered by these biologists, who arrived to see nothing but a pile of ash, keeping the mystery alive for the strange fly carcass. So the next photo is one of my little favorite ones, which you can kind of see here. Is this one is the next series, which takes place from the Australasian Antarctic Expedition in 1913.
It looks like a shrimp, like a giant shrimp.
It's no shrimp. It's a large larva, bigger than a man. Ugh. It was discovered in a frozen block of ice, completely solid, and it looks pretty standard for a beetle larva. It just looks like a beetle larva.
You know, fun fact though, insects were giant in the dinosaur era. So
they were about this big. It was about this is the size. They were like about man-sized. So yeah, this is not, you know. It was pre-dinosaur also. Anyway, so.
Thank you. Yes.
It looks pretty standard for a beetle larva. Information on the encounter is kept in the diary of a Cecil Madigan, where he writes, 17th of January, 1913, the sledding party was a total success. We mapped a large area east of the base, but the most fascinating finding was what appeared to be an enormous larva, as big as a man. I am no biologist, but McLean keeps saying it'll be the discovery of the century. The insect was perfectly preserved in the ice, so we sawed around it and brought it back as a whole block. The whole team had a toast to the discovery. Next, we have another journal entry from that explains the issues that are happening in this journey from the same man, Cecil Madigan. 9th of February, 1913. It is starting to dawn on me that we are staying for one more year. Mawson came back and told us of a tragic journey. We will miss Ninnis and Metz, but no use wallowing. The ship has sailed. This year I will assist McLean in studying this insect. The crew is taken to calling her Margit, after maggot. We will not break the ice as the body might be fragile. Jeffries, a new arrival in the scene, has taken a lot of interest in the bug and keeps coming to see it, asking all sorts of questions. He could become an annoyance. So, yeah. They had the thing, but this expedition had to stay an extra year because something happened. I think something actually did happen in real life with this expedition, because I looked it up and I saw a couple things about it. I think like a ship sunk trying to leave, so they had to send a telegram for another ship from Antarctica to Australia. So in 1913, it's a big deal. So it took a whole other year for them to get back. So Sidney Jeffries was a new researcher who was also keeping a diary. And we have an expert from his diary is more like a scrawling text and drawings, less than like a well-kept writing form. And we have a third entry for Madigan's diary, which tells us the way the specimen was lost in the winter of 1913. 2nd of August, 1913. He broke it. That madman Jeffries completely lost his block, went to the storage room, and in the middle of the night took an axe to Margit. He minced it so thin we could not recover a single piece of her. All this work, and we will not be able to bring a thing back to Australia. We found Jeffries outside repeating that he had freed her over and over. We locked him in since he has become a danger to the mission. So this is the second instance of someone destroying one of these things before it could get researched.
This is all getting hive mindy, you know. I was watching somebody play Dead Space last night, and I'm all like, wait a minute, I know hive mind behavior when I see a hive mind behavior.
The obelisk. So yeah, the ramblings, the diary. I didn't keep a picture of it, but you can look it up yourself. Jeffrey's diary. There's a photo of it, and it's like scrawling images, like madman drawings of the larva, and writing about saying, "I must free her. I must free her. I can't trust Madigan. I have to free her." Is like written all over it. So it suggests that he was insane, or he somehow got influenced by this creature from being around it. You know, who knows? One of those, maybe we'll learn more about that as we go deeper into our next entry into this whole thing.
More.
Yeah, there's more. There's plenty more.
No, we're done. Right? That's 17
nope.
minutes.
All right, guys. 17 minutes. We finished. We did 5 pictures of the 29. We're gonna make this into a 4-part episode, so you have to keep it short.
Oh God.
The next entry is when things start to get a lot stranger than they already are, and it takes place in 1923. There's the first photo of that. This entry is written as if you found an old binder. So it's like you the person, is finding a binder, and inside was some photos, some torn pages, and a letter. The first photo shows a man standing next to a sculpture of a totem-like object, which is the shape of a human torso and head, but with a stag beetle-like mandibles coming out of the sides of the head, with a worm-like shaped creature wrapping around the body. The note attached read, "Let me tell you the time I saw one of the Megalamorpha. You heard this story before, but with these documents, it should help you clear up skepticism. It was 1923, and I was traveling through British Tanganyika. After finishing my studies in anthropology at the age of 24, I was eager to go out and document unknown cultures. During that trip is when I met with the Jamu people, a wonderful and rich society with barely any contact with the outside world." Ooh. So next, we actually see a picture of like a book. It looks like he did publish a book on meeting the Tamu people. But we're kind of getting notes he has outside this official book. And in the book he printed, it says, "In my travels through the Tanganyika territories, no culture has drawn my fascination like that of the Jamu people. It is centered around a small village close to the Ayasi Lake, numbering around 100 people. I requested them to spend some time observing their way of life, and they accepted me reluctantly at first, but they grew more comfortable with me over time. Jamu culture is very different from that of the surrounding tribes. They show a mix of hunter-gatherer and agricultural traits, and do not seem to have a clear social structure. Their art and religion are unlike anything I have seen. Stories are passed down from elder to younger, and many of them are centered around a central figure of Kenya, depicted in statues as a hybrid of man and stag beetle. Communication was quite difficult due to the uniqueness of their language, which the translator was not able to fully grasp." So that's kind of like his published work on the Jamu people, right? Now we're going to get into the unpublished work. We're going to get into the personal letters this guy has. Because he has a bunch of like notes that we picked up, apparently. And it says that he stayed with them for 3 weeks, and he notices that they had a constant motif of stag beetles in their clothing, buildings, and their weapons. As you can see by this other picture I brought up, you kind of see a group of what looks like warriors or hunters with spears that look like beetle mandibles, and even a shield with kind of like cool, a beetle picture on it.
Yeah, that's pretty dope.
So he writes, "At first, I thought they were expert craftsmanship, but I now suspect the objects came from another source." He writes on a picture of these 3 tribes people standing together holding spears. So that's kind of like he wrote on the back of the picture.
Right.
The page also shows us in the first photo the man next to the totem that's that Kenya, their religious figure. He also mentions in the book that a hut used for religious ceremonies looked like the roof was carved out of a stag beetle, like shape. That looks like a giant, like leathery roof. And he was actually unable to visit. He was forbidden to witness the rituals. He was eventually overtaken by curiosity, and he followed the group to the ritual site and took a photo of what he saw. He states in the book that he was seen following them and forced to leave, and he was no longer welcome in the tribe. The papers he left, however, include the photo and go into greater detail about what he was showing in the photograph. He writes, "I am not proud of having followed them in secret, but if it were not for that, I would not have seen the insect. At first, I thought they were hunting the creature, but then I realized their interaction looked more like a conversation. As you know, trying to publish this information has only led to ridicule and me being cast out from academia. That is why I spent my life trying to prove their existence. Thank you for your help. I cannot do this alone at my age. Sincerely, Nigel Buckley."
I like it how they got a picture too of it. Looks like genuine tribes people like looking at somebody going, "Oh no, they're not supposed to look over here." Like,
yeah, there's like one person notices it, and then like other people start trying to notice it. Yeah. So as you can see from the pictures, there's a giant bug in there.
That thing looks horrifying.
It also looks like it's like got either clothing on it, jewelry on it, or paint on it.
Yeah, it's also got like Look at those eyes. Look at those giant, weird side eyes that it has. This thing was designed really, really cool.
Yeah,
I think they did the best they could putting it in the picture without making it look silly. But.
Yeah, I mean, all this kind of stuff is really hard to do. So, and also as we get further on, a lot of the pictures, especially the more modern ones, look a lot creepier. A lot like it gets creepier as time goes on.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got a name of the guy, Nigel Buckley. He was the guy researching this stuff. We have a picture of him too. There he is. So he's the first person we know of to try to solve a mystery around these creatures. And he dedicated his life to the study and research of Megalamorpha and kept all these documents that we're supposed looking at today. So it's like the whole story is like we're looking through his work kind of thing.
Now I want to know who this guy really was in real life now. Like,
this photo? Yeah, I know. I bet if you Google the image, you could find it. Like search the image.
Yeah. Yeah.
So unless it's someone the guy knows, maybe that's like how this was taken.
Could have been a friend. That's true. Could have been like his dad or something.
Yeah, or like, a professor or an art teacher or something, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Could have been a lot of things.
Yeah, right.
Or maybe his dad, yeah, you know. So yeah, he kept all these documents and he did pass away in 1984. So the story is like we're carrying on his work, basically, through researching these things.
Gotcha.
What we can glean from the few sightings we have documented of these creatures, they appear to be related to insects, only at a much larger scale. Are they part of the same species or perhaps a broader genus or family? Provisionally, I have decided to treat them as a single genus, which I officially call Megalamorpha. That's where the name comes from. So yeah, he would pass away, and he worked on it from 1923 to... Oh, sorry, he passed away in 1986. He sent the work to us in 1984 because he was too old to do it by himself. And so, yeah, he passed away, and he never was able to redeem himself in the scientific community.
Rough. Died in disgrace.
So, yeah, there's that. What's next? So next, we go 1923. We're going to talk about the Turner Bros Circus, 1927. So, clown warning for the next photo. We're going to bring up a picture right now. Right now, there it is, with a clown in it. So this is the Turner Bros Circus in 1927. They are a traveling circus in the United States of America with a, quote, Amazonian mammoth ant, unquote, with the poster stating, quote, the largest insect in the world. No record of the species has ever been described, so it's likely just a name made up to sell tickets and make something sound exotic, right?
Right.
It mentions that very little documentation remains about the mammoth ant except for 2 photographs and the poster. I'll bring up the photographs now. We'll get rid of this. So the clown photo is gone for anyone who's worried about clowns. So there are the 2 ant photos. As you can see, it looks like a giant ant.
This thing's horrifying. The eyes are like cat eyes in the dark, but on an ant, so it sucks.
Yeah. So the man who appears in the poster was Henry Turner, one of the 2 founders of the Turner Bros Circus, alongside his brother Robert Turner. In later recollections, Robert claims that Henry became obsessed with the ant, stating that, quote, towards the end he was even sleeping in the cage with it. One day he just took off with the ant and left everything behind.
Hive mind.
No record of the 2 were ever seen or heard from again, and with the stock market crash, the circus went out of business in 1929. So, yeah, the ant looks like it's in one of those, in one of these photos, looks like it's in a kind of a cage. It would normally be meant for like a lion to kind of sleep in at a circus. It seems to literally be like just a blown up version of an ant. Like it looks like an ant. The idea of Henry becoming obsessed with it harkens back to the larva Margit, which we talked about, or Margot, I could say. I don't know how you say it. And how Jeffries became obsessed with it and killed it, trying to free it, you know? Like, right. So kind of we're back on the thing. People are kind of being maybe influenced.
Margot. It's like Margot Robbie. You know?
Yeah, I know, but Margit and Maggot. That's why I thought about that. You know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. So, yeah, that's, maybe they're communicating. Maybe they're just like kind of psychically influencing. It's hard to say. Weird that they would psychically influence someone to destroy it, but like kill itself. But,
well, maybe they're different giant bugs fighting because these are giant ants. The giant larva may have been for a different bug, and they were like, kill the other bug.
Yeah. So
Bug Wars.
Now, speaking of this influence, you're going to go back in time to 1909 to Brisbane, Australia, with a fisherman named Adam James Clark, who made a strange catch while fishing, where he found a massive pill-shaped pupae-looking object larger than himself. The photograph shows him rowing with it in his boat, and then one of him posing next to it, which is the one I have up here. He also left a journal, which shows the progress of his mental state from going to normal to obsessed with the cocoon. Much like the previous stories, it seems Adam became fully obsessed with it, and in his final journal entry, which the handwriting is like completely lost any like style, he basically confirms this. He writes that the creature needs something to finish metamorphosis, and then states he needs to enter the pupa to unite with him, writing, quote, "He is Adam Clark. I am him, both bound by a husk, prison of flesh and chitin," end quote. So he goes on.
They always get so poetic, don't they?
Yeah.
Every time it's that, it always gets so poetic.
Yeah, madness comes with, I guess maybe poetry is madness. Maybe we could go deep into that.
No.
So he goes on to describe in the rest of the journal how he's going to go into the shell and jump into the water with it, kind of where he found it. And you can tell with his writing, like I said, he's not really sane. And we have a second photo weeks later of people fishing up the shell. Was recovered again, but this time it was broken open down the middle and empty.
Uh-oh.
So this kind of leads us into a whole nother aspect of this lore and this world, where the idea of almost like he merged into this pupa to create this creature.
Right. So like these things are like fucking chimera ants. Basically, like half ants, half human.
Yeah, half something, half human. And this also maybe harkens back to the African tribe we talked about with the deity Kinya, and how it was a man shape with mandible things coming out of its head, maybe?
Right.
But it's seeming more like it may be a feature of the Megalamorpha to merge or breed with people over just influencing or conversing with them.
Right. Good damn.
Which brings us into our next subject, which is a statue that was discovered in 1917 by an art collector in a museum located in Aquileia, Italy. There was 3 of these statues, and as you might imagine, based on what we just said, they seem to be human-insect hybrid creatures, but done in a manner of angelic-looking marble statues. One has a large beetle-like pincers on its back, which is the one I have the photo of, with 4 insect wings, small mandibles growing out of the mouth, and with what looks like a set of extra eyes on its forehead. There's another photo of one with wings and antenna, and a third looks to have extra limbs, like it's got 3 arms on one side, while it's kind of has a beetle-looking shell on its back. The artist was entranced by them, and he took them into his own personal collection, and he ended up speaking to an archivist in the Vatican named Francis Aidan Gasket, who had a codex from 15th century Spain. And this codex was commissioned by a man named Antonio Perez de Ayala, who was a nobleman turned monk who set on a spiritual experience on finding an angel, quote unquote.
Okay, reasonable thing to look for at that time, I suppose.
Yeah. So he claimed that he found an angel, and that it looks like a man-sized beetle. And there's even a photo from the Vatican of this thing.
That's interesting.
Oh, I think my OBS just crashed. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Yeah, Your stream is off. It's okay if we can take a second to just fix that.
Yeah, we might have to.
Do you want to stop the recording?
What is going on? Nothing on OBS is working. But it's still there, like I'm interacting with it.
Yeah, I'll tell chat.
OBS
Technical
being
difficulties. Yeah, OBS being stupid. I'm still recording, by the way.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know if you are.
You can hopefully edit it out without much issue. I'm gonna force close it.
I have to make a note. That's just all I have to do is make a note. If I remember to, 61.
We did this before once. But before we did it with the Fermi Paradox episode.
Oh. Oops.
What?
I don't know if I did.
You had to have, or else the episode wouldn't have been completed. There was 2 files. There was like 2 different
Oh,
things.
no, I remember that. No, I did complete it. Yeah, no, you're right. But no, we're good. Again, I can always just cut this part out too, so just keep recording.
Yeah, my recording's still going. I'm trying to restart OBS. There we go.
If I had a sticky note, I could... Oh, is that a sticky note? Nope, where's my sticky notes? So I can... God damn it. Oh, I'm out. That's right, I ran out of them.
Okay, start streaming. There it goes. Yeah, it was just OBS.
Sorry about that, folks. Live out there. Hopefully you can hear us now.
Yeah, I think everything should be working now. We'll just have to officially start again. All right. So Mello said, cut off when you began to describe the third picture. Okay, cool.
Right. Yes.
Easy. So we'll just go right back. We're going to start it, everyone, at this timestamp in my recording, Pat, at 30 minutes and 45 seconds.
30 minutes and 45 seconds? Okay, I'm going to write that down. Thank you. Okay. All right.
Alrighty. So they discovered 3 statues about these insect things, and on the third statue, it was a 3-armed, kind of angelic-looking creature with beetle back, mandibles on its face, multiple eyes. Didn't look like it was having a great time. It's kind of like croned over, crying. So the artist was so entranced by them, he bought them and added them to his personal collection. The artist then spoke to an archivist in the Vatican named Francis Aidan Gasquet, who had a codex in the 15th century Spain on these statues. The codex was commissioned by a man named Antonio Perez de Alia, who was a nobleman turned monk who had a spiritual experience after finding an angel, quote unquote. In the book, he claimed that the angel came from a cocoon found at the sea and was likely worshipped by people at the local monastery. We have art here of the monastery, which, yep, you can get that worshipping vibe from that. There's a few pictures of old art at this time depicting what it was like, worshipping this quote-unquote angel, which looks to just be a man-sized beetle. And we know that the Vatican asked a local noble for help in destroying it as, quote, heresy, unquote. So, whatever this beetle was once again destroyed by people, and the art collector never released the statues from his personal collection, so we only have old photos of them. So this continues the idea of kind of mental influence as well, because there's no way devoutly religious Catholics could worship a beetle. That would not work. So obviously something was influencing them to do so. And next we're actually going to go into one of my favorite things. This is the story that actually I first discovered about this. I think it was on a Reddit post on the world building subreddit, which is the story from the 1950s. So we're doing a big jump in time. The story takes place in 1953 Norway about a man named Erling Jorgensen, who was a journalist who visited an isolated parish of a city called Herns, or village, I should say, which was accused by locals of being a cult. This was a small parish with a modern-day church as their home, who turned to being highly isolationist in the year 1947. The only contact they would make outside their church was missionaries sent to recruit new people into their group. In the August of 1953, Jorgensen was allowed to visit them, take pictures, and interview their members. He was given free rein to move around, but he was not allowed to enter the church during their sermon hours, and he was not only not allowed in, he was actually put under watch by the people during the sermon hours.
I don't like the mask that they're wearing.
Yeah, so the head of the church is a man named Tor Hagen, referred to as Bishop. He's the one, I believe, sitting in the photo with the 3 people around him, because the 3 people around him are his sons who helped run the organization. And since they broke from the Church of Norway, they wore their own vestments with masks that looked almost like the wings of a moth.
Yeah.
He mentions the rituals around the younger members of the group who were all wore white, and the church referred to them as initiates. And when he asked about the rituals...
Bow ties,
so. Yeah, the men wear bow ties and the ladies wear gowns, It looks like church. I mean, this is obviously just real church clothing that was photoshopped. So, when a 7-year-old was asked about the rituals, he claimed, quote, "One day I will be one with God."
That's what every religious child says.
Yeah. So, that's all they would say in the rituals. It seemed like on the day of his departure, Jorgensen did not get many answers that he wanted, and he was taken by curiosity, so he told everyone he was leaving, and then snuck into the church and hid there until a sermon started. And, he'd been barred from seeing sermons, so he wanted to know what they were doing in there.
Right.
And so, sure enough, it started. And he witnessed an immense creature looking like a moth, a Megalamorpha, behind the altar. And his quote was saying, "The church had been silent for hours as that thing pulsates on the wall. I need to do something." So he ended his unpublished notes there, and he was able to snap 2 photos of this massive moth-like creature. And that day, a fire would end up actually destroying the church. And he never admitted to it. And I think I have a photo of it, until after his death. Of course, he did reveal that he did light the match and burn the church down. So, there you go. There's that.
With the Mothman inside it. Wait, no, that's a different episode.
Maybe. I don't think so. But maybe. I would love if it turned into Mothman stuff. That'd be fucking amazing.
Yeah, right? I mean, it part of it feels like it could.
Yeah, 100%. So you have another picture here, which is cool. This is a story from 1982. On the 21st of April, a local news report from the island of Sicily showed a discovered Roman ruin with a mural depicting what appears to be a Roman soldiers or hunters of some kind on the hunt with a giant wasp eating an antelope. This is pointed out as being strange amongst other realistic scenes in the mosaic, and it mentions that it does not fit any known Roman myths. It seems only one photo of the mosaic survived in the care of a daughter of the head archaeologist at the time, and no public information is available on this or the hotel, which was quickly built on top of it after.
We'll just cover this up.
Literally cover it up.
Sleep here.
Yeah, seems like a lot of cover-up stuff happening. Maybe some government knowledge, some people behind the scenes
They're
here.
always fucky wucky and smutty in the waters.
Smutty in the waters.
Smutty in the waters.
So there is a couple modern day sightings too. One of them was in 2004, an ROV submarine, which, if you don't know, it's like a remote operated vehicle, ROV. Submarine was recovered from the seafloor, which was damaged with its umbilical cord cut off after being lost for 3 years.
Is that what that's called, an umbilical cord?
Yeah, like the cord so they call it umbilical cords.
Huh.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. I thought maybe it had a different name, but
No.
I was like, really? They just kind of went for it, huh?
Yeah, it's called an umbilical cord. It was on a mission trying to survey a sunken ship and was recovered by a Polynesian oil and gas company who were building a pipeline in Hawaii. The memo from the company states that it was recovered with some still photos, which shows what appears to be a massive grub-like larva in the water and then nesting in the wreckage of a ship.
Yeah, he looks like he's straight chilling, actually.
Yeah. We find all these pupas in the water, so maybe this is the early form, and then that maybe connects to the grub that was found in Antarctica, where maybe it froze, right? Like it was in Antarctic waters and froze probably to its own death.
Poor thing.
So, this is all we have for this story. They found it. This Polynesian thing found it, but Polynesian gas company, and they had the photos which were sent out, but mostly destroyed, and all record of it was destroyed as well. Again, so more cover-up kind of stuff.
Convenient.
2006 is a trail cam photo. I actually really like this photo. That was taken of what appears to be a massive moth-like flying Megalamorpha, which was posted on a now defunct hunting forum.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that first photo specifically, it looks very. This looks like a real trail cam creepy photo you'd find.
Yeah, it literally looks like it's like in mid-flight taking a turn or something.
Yeah,
like that's cool because it almost looked like the wings are like feathers almost, but they're not. It's gross.
Yeah, cool. It kind of got like gross feathery like appendage kind of things on the wings, more like insect wings.
I do love how the deer in the second picture is looking at it like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it looks like a giant kind of moth thing. It's pretty gnarly. There's photos also of screenshots of the website this was posted on, which is now gone, and no one is able to track down the original poster either. So it even has a message on the article, like, if you know anything about this, please reach out to us so we can find out more about who posted this information. Now we get into another big crazy one. This is a really big crazy one that was discovered in 2011. This is I
was in college.
A cave discovered with Neolithic art era paintings and artifacts, and you might have guessed it, the paintings include imagery of giant insects. Perhaps more disturbing is beneath the images of giant insects, we see human-insect hybrid-like creatures, and with other humans worshipping them.
Yeah, that's just Starship Troopers, I guess.
Yeah, a little bit. Above all that, however, they seem to be... They discovered one major thing in this, along with the artifacts, which was a human cranium with a, quote, unknown malformation, which can be seen here in this photo I just brought up, which is a large rhino beetle-like horn and insectoid mandibles grown into the skull.
That looks so sick. That's so cool.
It's even got dope. It's even got eye sockets above it. The big eye sockets too. It's got 3 little eye sockets.
Yeah, that's so cool. Well done, whoever. This is my favorite picture so far. This is the coolest thing I've viewed so far, in my opinion.
Also, I want to point out that the artist Valdez has his logo like all over these things. Every photo has his logo on it. Like this one on the neck, you can see the VA, the Valdez art logo on the neck.
Oh wow!
It was on the typewriter and the one with the scientist. Like it's all over this, which I love the way he was sneakily able to like brand his photos, which is great because then no one else can claim credit for them.
Right? Yeah. Good for him. And
yeah, the first time I noticed it was this
one. It doesn't break the immersion because until you pointed it out, I wouldn't have noticed.
I first noticed it on this picture.
I saw those things. I just thought it was like a scratch on the collar. I was just like, oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah, no, it's the VA first thing, which is great. Keep credit where its credit's due. So yeah, this is showing that we definitely this is obviously a hybrid human insect thing. We heard the story in 1909 of the guy getting in the pupa and then breaking out of it, allegedly underwater. Right. So it's like maybe he came out as a hybrid somewhere and did some crazy stuff.
Dude, I'm telling you, chimera ants, hunter.
Yeah, very much chimera ant like. We actually only have one more story before the end of the episode here.
Wow.
Which I kind of got cut up, but we're at like a 40-minute mark, so it's not that short. It's going to be a shorter one today, but not that short. Especially because this last one's a pretty fucking doozy of a thing. This last one is it's probably the creepiest picture of them all. Which I'm actually not going to show until I talk a little bit about it. From the 1910s to the 1920s, there's photos of a Mexican family called the De La Cruz family. And the documents in the article were smuggled out of the country by a man named Adrian De La Cruz, who was disowned by the family. And the photo shows the family calmly posing, as you would, for a 1910, 1920s kind of family photo, black and white old cameras. But there's something very disturbing about the picture. And the very disturbing part is there's a member of the family referred to by them as Tio Alfredo. Where's the picture? I lost my number. There we go. Who is just posing in the family with them. And if you see the photo, you can notice something strange about Tio Alfredo.
Is he the giant bug man with a skull?
Yeah, he seems to be a giant mosquito with a human skull for a head.
Yeah, well, really, good for the family to accept him in and take him with the picture anyway, like, good for them to be like, yeah, get on here, Tito. Uncle Tito, get in here. And he's just like, bzz, bzz, bzz.
No, it's Alfredo. Tio means uncle. So Tio Alfredo.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So that's, this is.
My bad. Alfredo the mosquito.
Yeah, Alfredo the mosquito. So I think this picture is extremely fucking creepy. Like, it looks really weird. Just like, really especially because it's like a very calm photo, and just to imagine this kind of thing in that photo with them.
It does look like the guy who's standing next to Alfredo is like leaning back a little to make space. It does look like he's like, oh, here you go, buddy.
Yeah. Oh, you're kind of big. You can kind of fit in here.
Yeah, you can kind of fit in here. It does look like he's like leaning back a bit.
So,
and then the other guy is just like leaning away from him with his baby. He's like, it's okay. Tio smells a little funny. I know.
So, yeah, creepy mosquito man. And the De La Cruz family were landowners who lived in an isolated estate in Morelos for generations, surrounded by farmland. They were rarely seen outside, which led to many rumors in the area about the family and why they had a sickly disposition. Adrian is the only known member of the family to have escaped, where he chose not to return after fighting in the Mexican Revolution, and instead returning to Mexico City, where he would marry a woman named Christina and work in chemistry. One day, he left suddenly, and his wife would receive a letter. The letter writes, Christina, I am sorry for leaving without a word. I came back to my family home. Something was left undone. You will not believe this, so I put some photos in the envelope. Here's one of the photos here. This thing, Tio Alfredo, has always been there in the attic. I gave it my blood. We all did. I don't know how long it has been with us, since the time of my great-grandfathers or more. And for this long, everyone has been convinced it is part of the family. Maybe it used to be, but none of that matters. I need to break this cycle and save them from this torture. I have brought a vial of cyanide. I will drink it, go into the attic, and let that beast feed on me, just like it used to. That horrible empty sensation. If it all goes well, I will then drink my antidote and come back to you, having rid the world of this devil. We know nothing about what happened to him after that letter.
Damn. I mean, he went for... I mean, I get, like...
Yeah.
It might be their uncle, or might not be.
Yeah.
So maybe kill it?
Yeah, he... So there is one of the photos, which I did not include, is like an old, like, painting, like of an old, like, Mesoamerican style painting of a person with a giant beetle-looking creature. So it's likely that this was, like, a child offspring of it mixed with a human. So it could be, like, hundreds of years old and, like, drinking people's blood to survive. But yeah, you can see it's got a human rib cage, a human head. It looks kind of like a necromorph from Dead Space, honestly. Just more insecty. But the last photo of the series is 6 men carrying a coffin, and on the coffin it writes A. De La Cruz. So we don't know if the A stands for Adrian or Alfredo. It could be either, but one of them died and was put into a coffin and carried off. So, but we don't know, and that's all the story. This is the most recent story posted in the series. So that's basically everything we have about the Megalamorpha. But I think it's constantly getting updates. Again, check out the website he has of Valdez Art to like look at this as stuff comes out if you like it, because it's really cool and it's really wild when new things drop. He also has a lot of other cool projects.
We were talking about phobias earlier. And I remember a big one of mine is bugs. And once we started this and big bugs started to appear, my skin genuinely just started to crawl. I'm like, no, I don't like bugs very much.
You don't?
I like spiders. I like spiders and I like bees. I like spiders, bees. I like flying bugs, I guess, except mosquitoes.
Not a big bug guy?
Not a big bug guy. I had a lot of bad experiences with bugs when I was a kid because one time when I was little, I fell into like a little pit that was... I grew up in Massachusetts, a very wet state, full of wet stuff. So I remember falling into like a wet puddle, and it was just like it had all sorts of manner of bugs in it, and they were all crawling on me. It wasn't good. I was running around in the woods like kids do.
Then why aren't you a superhero named Bugman?
Because I didn't conquer my fear of bugs, unfortunately. Instead, I embraced it and stopped going outside.
Oh,
that's not true.
I've never been outside since.
I'm good with spiders, though. Like I saved a spider from my work yesterday. My boss was screaming, "Kill it, kill it!" and I just put it in a cup and put it outside. But I'm not afraid of spiders.
Yeah, I actually do like bugs, but that's not one of the reasons why I like this story. I just think it's great world building.
It's a great world building. It's cool as hell.
The story of this world where people and bugs kind of like combined, but they have some weird psychic influence over people. almost like we have
Right.
this symbiotic relationship with this creature from way back and as far as humans go. But I'm wondering if we're ever going to get more information on like the cover-up kind of thing, because clearly people are covering it all up. So it's just like, who's covering it up? Is the president a bug? Is Obama a bug man? Maybe.
Is Obama a bug man? Is Obama still president in this world?
Is Obama the king of the world as a bug?
Is Obama the king of the world as a bug?
Yeah, but he has a lot of other really great stories. He has one about as if Earth just always has had a second moon. It's like an organic meat moon with like eyeballs on it, like looking at Earth. That's a good one.
I want to know about Meat Moon.
There's another one called like fractals, where it's like a bunch. It's like basically like, you know what fractals are. Like it kind of like they kind of like show up, like this like liquid thing starts showing up and people start growing like fractal like limbs and shit. It's crazy.
Oh.
Yeah. So check out his stuff if you like it. This is the that's the end of the story. This is the end, guys. We did it. It was a shorter one, but it's a little fun story. I think a short one's good to do in between the crazy long historical rants that I go on.
Sure.
So,
and I still need to come up with a new one soon because I'm overdue.
It's a little taste, a little nice taste, nice little taste of wild internet stories. I love internet story stuff.
Yeah. I hope we ruined your appetite. Good night, everybody.
Have a good night.